how can we maintain this country's competitive edge? How do we make sure that research and innovation is a part of the national conversation? Where is the American public, after all, on these issues? Not just the people sitting in this room, but the American public writ large. Well, to that last question, fresh off the presses, is our latest national public opinion poll on research and innovation, conducted just a few days ago, last week, among likely voters. Overall, Americans are concerned that our leadership in medical and health research will erode over time if we fail to make it a higher priority via robust investment in research-friendly policies. Well, joining me now to make remarks and welcome our first panel is the chair of Research America, the Honorable John Edward Porter.
This election coming up in November is the most important election in my lifetime. And it's the most important election for the future of science in our country. And we've got to bring people to Washington in positions of policy leadership who can provide the kind of support to all of our science agencies that are under such siege right now.
So Tom, you get the first question. There have been big questions during the primary season so far about the role of government. What should government be involved in? How big should government be? And questions come in as to whether government has, even has a role in telling parents what their children should eat, in telling parents how much their children should exercise. Many people would say that's something that the parents should decide on their own. Why should CDC be doing research at all? And why should they be doing research around things that are parental decisions?
Senator Moynihan used to say that you're entitled to your own opinion, but not to your own facts. And perhaps the most important thing that CDC does is put into the public domain objective information about what's happening and what works. It is certainly up to communities to make decisions about what they want to do as a community. And it's up to parents to decide what they want to do as parents. But I don't see responsibility as either or. I see responsibility as both.
When most people in the general public think about the Food and Drug Administration, they think about a regulatory agency, an agency that's working to ensure our food supply, our drug supply are safe and effective. With tight budgets, and FDA not having enough money to do so many of the things that you're being asked to do, why should FDA be doing research at all?
We need more knowledge, we need more tools, we need more methods, we need more models to be able to rapidly and meaningfully, in a scientifically rigorous way, assess the safety, efficacy, quality, and performance of a product that comes before us. And frankly, we need to apply this kind of knowledge to the medical product development process as well to make sure that it's as timely and cost-effective as possible.
With the contraction in the number of players in the field, the numbers doing research and development, does pharma rely more on the public sector, on government, to drive that research? And what responsibility does pharma have to be developing the drugs that people need?
The total amount of dollars that are spent by those companies, our companies, on research and development continues to climb. In fact, there is no more research-intensive industry in the United States, I dare say in the world, than the pharmaceutical industry. We average about 20.5% of our revenues invested in research and development. Put that in a different way, that's about $105,000 for every employee in the pharmaceutical industry. So the commitment is there. We have a role, but in order for our companies to be effective, they have to be part of a vibrant scientific ecosystem. And that ecosystem includes the basic research that is done at NIH, that's done in universities, that are done in hospitals, the regulatory research that Commissioner Hamburger was talking about, because we need a strong and up-to-date regulator if we're going to be able to bring innovative medicines to patients. And that's what we're all about.
What role do advocacy groups have in promoting, in a sense, a false sense of speed at which progress is made in science, partially, in part to encourage support for advocacy, but also because That's what politicians are looking for, and that's what the public is looking for. How do you balance the reality check for what it really takes to make progress in heart disease?
We really see our role as multifaceted. So first of all, obviously we are a funder of scientific research focusing on young investigators starting their career so that they can build and blossom into these wonderful careers that are helping to further outcomes for patients. But a part of what we do as well is we provide a venue or a forum through our scientific meetings and through our scientific journals for scientists to share their outcomes in particular studies or experiments that they're working on with others through a peer-reviewed process. And we believe that it is important to use these findings when talking about the furthering of the role of science. So our role is to provide the venue and to put into perspective what it is that the scientist may be saying.
Mary, I want to pull you in as the last of the panelists, but the representative here of the academic sector. I'm a pediatrician, and you are head of a pediatric research institute. And when I look at the state of pediatric research, it's pretty bleak. Pediatric children's health tends to go after the crumbs that are left after the money's been distributed elsewhere. Is the U.S. really world-class when it comes to research if the support isn't there for diseases that start in childhood?
I'd like to be the advocate for the underserved, okay? And I think the pediatric population is underserved. I would say that recently, and as recent as the completion of sequencing the human genome, that big project, for the first time, we're at a very exciting time in our history where we can begin to look at pediatric precursors to adult diseases. And I would say that the NIH, through Dr. Collins' leadership, has now introduced the children's study. So there's a very huge effort in the United States of America to look at longitudinal studies, looking at generations of individuals for diseases that might be developed and diseases that we could identify at the earliest possible stage, you know, to save the development of the disease through adulthood. Having said that, we suffer from the lack of drugs. And I think you'll appreciate that the pediatric population doesn't have as many drugs at their fingertips as the adult population. And so many people feel that, well, we have all these adult drugs, why don't we just give lower dosages to children because they're smaller? And it doesn't work like that. The physiology of a child is very different from an adult. And so there's a lot that we need to learn for dosing. So right now there's a big effort in the United States to repurpose drugs for pediatric development.
Jack, in tough economic times, why shouldn't industry pick up a bigger portion of the research budget and just have research be driven by the market?
We're all in this together because no one can do this alone. So everyone in this room and everyone on this platform is part of a continuum. Why we should invest in research in the United States is it makes the country competitive. And if we don't do it, it will move elsewhere. It's a high-risk enterprise. It should also be a high-reward enterprise. If we make it a high-risk enterprise and a low reward, and there are a lot of people who feel, that's fine, do your research, but we want your medicines cheap. And we don't want to pay for this. Until people understand that it is high risk, there are no guarantees, and there needs to be an incentive for this, then we will lose our competitive edge, and that is why I believe the government needs to incentivize all of us involved in research.
I think if I was advising a politician, I would try to get the American people excited about the fact that we need to have a national strategy, a Sputnik Moment, where we galvanize and we look at all the things that matter, and we really build on the expertise and preeminence of America today in the life sciences world, and we make sure that in the decades to come that we are at the forefront still.